Yashodanandana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kaviyari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjaviyari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Givaradari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Givaradari Yashodanandana Brajajanarandana Yashodanandana Brajajanarandana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjaviyari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjaviyari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Givaradari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Givaradari Yashodanandana Brajajanarandana Yashodanandana Brajajanarandana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjaviyari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjaviyari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hey, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. Put this in there. That was one of their tunes. That was coming from them. That was their very own tune. Hare Krishna, everybody. Thank you all for coming to tonight's. Welcome back, Govinda, Radha. Welcome back from Sadhu Sangha. Can you hand me that book over there?
Yep.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Narayanam Namaskruta. Naram Chaiva Narottamam. Devyam Saraswatim Vyasam. Tato Jaya Mudirayet. Nastapreshu Bhadreshu. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavate Uttama Shloke. Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki. Pranamami Adi Priye. Pranamami Adi Priye. Namaste Girajaya Shri Govardhana Namane. Ashesha Klesha Nashaya Paramananda Daine. Mareka Bandho Matsangin Madguru Manmadana Madnistaraka Madbhagya Madananda Namostate. Asaru Saru Tadayan Atinicho Chitakara. Anamunchakara Chinmam Premnarit Katayospara. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Haribol. So, like I said, I think Narada Muni is just about to land. How is Sadhu Sangha, guys? My dear ones?
Amazing.
Life-changing, huh? At Indra Swami Kirtan, right?
Yeah. The best.
Nothing like it in the whole world.
And there was a lot of good ones. I mean, a lot. But,
We were on 32, huh?
We finished the chapter.
We finished the chapter. Okay, 1.5. Chapter 5. This is one of my favorite chapters in the first canto. Very, very enlightening chapter. So in this chapter, we're going to be talking about Narada inquires and Vyasadeva responds. We're going to be hearing about Narada revealing to Vyasa the importance of describing Krishna's pastimes. We're going to hear about the glories of Krishna Katha. Then we're going to hear Narada Muni narrate his past life. And then we're going to hear some advice Narada Muni gives. So the whole chapter is basically Narada Shiksha. And this is the first appearance of Narada Muni in the Bhagavatam. And from this point on, Narada Muni basically appears in every single section of the Bhagavatam. Leela, he's very, in a way we can understand the Bhagavatam is a glorification of Narada Muni by his disciple Vyasa. Srila Vyasadeva is glorifying his very own disciple, Narada Muni. So we'll start with text 1 here. Sutta Uvacha. Okay, we can do that. Atatam Sukam Asina. Upasinam Brihatstrava. Devarshi Praviprashim. Vinapani Smayaniva. Sutta Goswami said, thus the sage amongst the gods, Narada, comfortably seated and apparently smiling, addressed the rishi amongst the brahmanas. Narada was smiling because he well knew the great sage Vyasadeva and the cause of his disappointment, as he will explain gradually. Vyasadeva's disappointment was due to insufficiency in presenting the science of devotional service. Narada knew the defect, and it was confirmed by the position of Vyasa. So, just for a little review here, we finished off the chapter 4, and that was dealing basically with how Narada Muni is arriving. We were hearing about how Vyasa divided the Vedas. We were hearing about some further questions that Shanaka was asking Sutta Goswami, basically about how the Bhagavatam came to be written by Veda Vyasa, and how it came to be heard by Maharaj Parikshit and spoken again by Shukadeva Goswami. That was all discussed. Now we're going to hear some deeper topics here. It was nice to hear that. I heard some nice things. You guys said nice things about me. I'd like to thank you to Balaram Shakti. We talked last night for a few hours. Narado Vacha. No, repeat. Parasharya Mahabhaga Bhavata Kashchidatmana Patushyati Sharira Atma Manasa Evava. Addressing Vyasadeva, the son of Parasharya, Narada inquired, are you satisfied by identifying with the body or the mind as objects of self-realization? So here we're hearing a heavy-duty guru moment here. Are you satisfied by identifying with the body? So Prabhupada is saying, this was a hint by Narada to Vyasadeva regarding the cause of his despondency. Vyasadeva, as the descendant of Parashara, a greatly powerful sage, had the privilege of having a great parentage, which should not have given Vyasadeva cause for despondency. Being a great son of a great father, he should not have identified himself with the body or mind. Ordinary man with a poor fund of knowledge can identify the body as self or the mind as self, but Vyasadeva should not have done so. One cannot be cheerful by nature unless one is factually seated in self-realization, which is transcendental to material body and mind. So we're hearing here just the basic principle, right? What's the first thing the guru says, right? You're not this body. And so the cause of your despondency has a sense of irrelevance, right? And so this is the big issue we're all facing. So coming from a great parentage, so although we understand that Vyasadeva was the son of Parashara Muni, who was a great devotee, great learned sage, we can also understand that we are coming in the disciplic succession of Srila Prabhupada, Lord Chaitanya, Rupa, and Sanatana Goswamis were also coming from a great disciplic succession. So it's our duty as bona fide disciples in the Krishna consciousness movement to not become overwhelmed. Right? It's the duty to become happy, to remain as a person in Krishna consciousness. Right? Actually, I've heard before, it's an offense to the Guru to become despondent. Because we get this knowledge, we understand the ways of things. Why should we have any means to lament, right? You're lamenting for that which is not worthy of grief. So the Guru's job is to bring us out of illusion by presenting this knowledge, which sometimes people don't want to hear, right? In our movement, they get disturbed. How could you say I'm not this body? How could you say that's my karma? We don't want to hear these things. So we have to find a way to balance compassion and empathy with real knowledge. You can't fix something with knowledge. You can't throw shlokas at a problem until it's defeated. But you also can't, indulge someone in their own sentimental sadness without giving them knowledge by, enabling them to basically be an illusion. It's described right when Arjuna said, now I am your disciple and a soul surrendered unto you. He said that, smiling in the midst of both armies, the Supreme Personality of Godhead spoke as follows. And anybody know why Krishna was smiling? Krishna was smiling at Arjuna because Krishna was trying not to laugh at him. Krishna was going to laugh at him because he was just thinking this is so pathetic. That you're a Kshatriya and you're the great son of the Kuru dynasty, the son of Pandu, yet you're falling under this illusion. So Krishna was going to laugh, but because Arjuna surrendered, Krishna only smiled. So Vishnu Chakravarti explains. So you don't want to become objects of Krishna's laughter. Not that Krishna, right? You don't want to become objects of Krishna. Back to it, kid. Go and lock the door. Yeah. So we don't want to become objects of Krishna's laughter. So, yeah. Therefore, let's not identify by the body. And your despondency is certainly not due to lack of knowledge. That's one of the points here, that you have all this knowledge. So why are you despondent? So text 3. Jigyasitam susapanam apite mahadadbhutam kritavan bharatam yastam sarvata paribramhitam. Someone can read?
Of thy inquiries were full and studies also well fulfilled. Since you have prepared a great and wonderful work, the Mahabharata, which is full of all kinds of Vedic sequences elaborately explained.
So, right, where's he saying? Narada Muni is saying that you're an accomplished person. Why is it you're despondent? You've written the Mahabharata. You've understood so many things. So why is it you're despondent? It's an intelligent question, correct? And we can see that, right, in the world today, that there are many accomplished individuals. They've accomplished so much, even in the realm of devotional service, so to speak, but they're not manifesting the qualities of satisfaction, the atma-supersidity, because the pure devotional path eludes them. The path of Bhagavata Dharma, hearing and chanting, eludes them, right? You accomplished, you were valedictorian, you had a full ride scholarship, you were doing good, but then still you're unhappy. Why? Everything, you have the pretty wife, you have the whole thing, but why is it you're unhappy? So we're unhappy because we haven't yet to understand the true love, Krishna. Like Krishna is our first love. Nice way to think about it, right? Everybody falls in love, and that first love is always the most intense. And then, but actually, the first love is Krishna. He loved us before anybody. And we love Krishna first through the mother and the father. And that's actually Krishna taking care of us. Nice way to think. And Krishna never leaves us. He's the real best lover. The greatest love affair with the greatest lover of all time. Omar, go ahead and read.
You have fully delineated the subject of impersonal Brahman as well as the knowledge derived therefrom. Why should you be despondent in spite of all this, thinking that you are undone, my dear Prabhu?
So he's saying, you've understood, you've described the impersonal Brahman. Why should you be despondent in spite of all this? Not only were his inquiries about Brahman complete, but he'd fully realized them. He compiled the Vedanta Sutra, the most exalted philosophical exposition containing the conclusions about the eternal Brahman. So the Vedanta Sutra, people want to understand scriptures, right? Like when they ask us, right, when you're out and about and someone asks you what religion you are, and you look clueless, that's not a good sign. Right? What religion are you? And you don't even really know, what scripture do you follow? Oh, we can say we follow the Vedas. What are the Vedas? They may ask, Vedas are the works of Srila Vyasadeva. And, who knows how deep the conversation may go, but you got to be able to understand there are 4 Vedas. There are the Puranas, the histories. There's the Shruti, the Smriti. There's the Itihasas, other histories, right? The Mahabharata and Itihasa. There's the Upanishads. And then there's also the Brahma Sutra or the Vedanta Sutra, which is considered the essence of the Vedic literatures. That's what Vyasadeva basically wanted to take the essence of the Vedas and put them into sutra form. And so we hear different famous lines from the Brahma Sutra like Atato Brahma Jigyasa, right? What's that mean? Now is the time to inquire, right? Atato Brahma Jigyasa. Now is the time to inquire. So what most people follow in terms of their Hindu religion, and this is an important point, you can remember this point, it's an important thing to know amongst our movement, in our movement, as a person in the Krishna conscious movement, it's important to know that most people who are following the Vedanta Sutra, they're following this Vedanta Sutra as was commented upon by Shankaracharya. Who knows who Shankaracharya is? He's Lord Shiva, but who is he? I mean, that's who he was. It's an incarnation of Lord Shiva. What did he do?
Impersonalist.
Yeah, right. He was the impersonalist Acharya, and he basically banished Buddhism from the India. Right? Buddhism is an Indian religion. We don't generally think of Buddhism as an Indian religion, do we? I think it was like an Asian religion, Chinese in Tibet, and then Thailand, Vietnam, that area. But Buddhism is coming from India. Buddha became enlightened in Gaya. Yeah, you got it. And so, Buddha became enlightened in Gaya, which is in India. And, his philosophy was very powerful. He's an incarnation of Krishna, right? His philosophy spread all over the world. This was like 2,500 BC. Think about that. That's longer. Buddha appeared before Christ, longer than we've been away from Christ. That's how long Buddhism was prevalent. Think about that. Almost 3,000 years it was prevalent. That was the religion. So sometimes people criticize Buddhism. It was a major thing, right? And then Shankaracharya came to basically end Buddhism by reestablishing the authority of the Vedas. But it's establishing the authority of the Vedas in an impersonal way. And so he made a commentary on the Vedanta Sutra called the Shariraka Bhashya, which the Mayavadis, they hold tight to that. That's their scripture. That is the scripture of the Mayavadis, the Shariraka Bhashya commentary of the Vedanta Sutra, of which Lord Chaitanya thoroughly and utterly annihilated in his conversation with Prakasananda Saraswati and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Right? And then there was a whole part, right? We hear this part of the Chaitanya Charitamrita where Lord Chaitanya, he had taken sannyas and he had went to, where'd he go? After he took sannyas? After he left Navadvip? Where did he stay? What did you say to me? Puri, yeah. So Lord Chaitanya went to Jagannath Puri. And so upon arriving in Jagannath Puri, he came across Lord Jagannath and he became so ecstatic he passed out. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was observing him. He was saying, wow, this is a beautiful person. So beautiful. He's so beautiful. And he's 24 years old. He's a sannyasi. He's younger than me now. Remember when I was like, Lord Chaitanya was 24. And now I'm like, I'm older than 24 now. So now I'm older than Lord Chaitanya was when he took sannyas. I'm older than Hridayananda Maharaj when he took sannyas too. So anyhow, Lord Chaitanya was so beautiful. So he decided, I'm going to teach him Vedanta Sutra because otherwise he's too beautiful to be able to maintain his sannyas. He'll have to get married because, or he'll have to fall down and kill himself at that time because, he's just too beautiful. And so then, Lord Chaitanya was very humble and he was saying, oh, you're my father, yeah, you're so wonderful. You're a great scholar in the Vedas. And so let me instruct you on Vedanta Sutra. So he spoke for 7 days on the Vedanta Sutra, commenting on the Vedanta Sutra. What did Lord Chaitanya say after 7 days? Nothing. Then after 7 days, Lord Chaitanya said, Sarvabhaumacharya said, I've given you my heart. I've spoken for 7 days. Don't you have anything to say? Don't you have anything to say? What did Lord Chaitanya say?
Didn't understand.
He said something about your.
I think he started by praising him like, oh, and then he said, but in this area over here.
No, I'm thinking of a different pastime. You're thinking of Keshava Kashmiri.
Yeah.
He said something about the clouds.
Yeah, you got it. He said, your descriptions, I understand Vedanta Sutra perfectly, but your descriptions are like a cloud covering the sun. And with Sarvabhaumacharya was just heartbroken. I spoke for 7 days and that's what you have to say. And he said, well, you describe Vedanta Sutra. And Lord Chaitanya just said, it's clear as day. Because there's a natural commentary on Vedanta Sutra, right? What is that natural commentary on Vedanta Sutra? Srimad Bhagavatam. So Srimad Bhagavatam is the culmination, the highest scripture, right? Vedyam vastavam atra vastu shivanam tapam trayam yulam Srimad Bhagavate maham krite kim va pararishvaraha. Supreme scripture. What need is there for any other scripture? Sadyo hridyavarudyate takriti di shushu shivi takshanam. Okay. Now we're going to go, Vyasadev's now going to ask his guru, why am I despondent? Which we should do, right? Vyasu vacha astyeva me sarvamidam tvaktotam tatapi natma parishut me tanmulam avyaktam agara bodham prachame tatmam vyavatma bhutam. Sri Vyasadeva said, all you have said about me is perfectly correct. Despite all this, I am not pacified. I therefore question you about the root cause of my dissatisfaction. For you are a man of unlimited knowledge due to your being the offspring of one, Brahma, who is self-born, without mundane mother or father. And in the material world, everyone is grossed with the idea of identifying with the body or mind. As such, all knowledge disseminated in the material world is related either with the body or with the mind. And that is the root cause of all despondencies. This is not always detected, even though one may be the greatest erudite scholar in materialistic knowledge. It is good, therefore, to approach a personality like Narada to solve the root cause of all despondencies. Right? So there's a verse in the Bhagavatam considered one of the 4 essential verses. Ratartam yat pratiyeta na pratiyeta chatmani tadvidyat atmano mayam yata gyasyachi yata baso yata tamaha. And that verse explains that whatever may appear to be of value in this material world, if it is not related to Krishna, know it as factual illusion. May appear to be of value, but if it's not related to Krishna, it's illusion. It's an illusion. So that's the Chaturasloki Bhagavatam verse 2. Know it to be a reflection of my material energy in the darkness of ignorance. So has to be related to Krishna. It may look valuable, it may look like, this is the real knowledge, but it's just, if it has no Krishna, it actually has zero value, you see. So now we're going to hear one of the qualifications of a very powerful spiritual master. Savai bhavam veda samasta guyam upashito yat purusha parana paravaresho manashaiva vishvam shrujat yavat yati gunara sanga. Please read.
My Lord, everything that is mysterious is known to you. Because you worship the creator and destroyer of the material world and the maintainer of the spiritual world, the original personality of Godhead, who is transcendental to the three modes of material nature.
Prabhupada said, a person who is 100% engaged in the service of the Lord is the emblem of all knowledge. Such a devotee of the Lord in full perfection of devotional service is also perfect by qualification. A devotee like Narada can act wonderfully by his spiritual perfection, which every individual is trying to attain. So, Narada Muni is Veda Amasta Guyam. He's mysterious. He is Purna Purusha, unattached to the mode, so he's a very qualified personality, right? Next verse here too. Twamparyatan arkaiva trilokim antascharo vayarivat mashakshi paravari brahmani dharmato vritai snatasya menu namalam vichakshva. Like the sun, your goodness can travel everywhere in the three worlds, and like the air, you can penetrate the eternal region of everyone. As such, you are as good as the all-pervasive supersoul. Please, therefore, find out the deficiency in me, despite my being absorbed in transcendence under disciplinary vows. Wow, right? Atma Shakshi, please tell me what's wrong with me. Strike my soul. Prabhupada just says that transcendental realization, pious activities, worshiping the deities, charity, mercifulness, nonviolence, studying the scriptures under strict disciplinary regulations are always helpful. They're always helpful. And those things are helpful, folks, if you didn't know. But it's amazing here, we can just point out, I just want to point out this, that like the sun, and he can penetrate the internal region of everyone. Who else can do that? So Prabhupada can do that, right? And why are they as good as this all-pervasive super soul? How does that work? How is the guru as good as the super soul? Because he's completely surrendered to the super soul, you see. His agenda and the super soul's agenda are the same. So when we have the more light, we can hold more and more light, we can be more and more empowered in our service. The more we let go of our own motivations, our own desires, that's what surrender means, right? The more we put the Guru's order in front of us, the more we put the mission of Krishna in front of us, to that degree, whatever they may be, we get that inspiration by surrendering to Super Soul. And that first involves surrendering to our Guru. Tesham satatam yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam adami buddhi yogam tam yena mamupayanti te. Krishna will give us the intelligence within the heart. So, guys are all quiet. Make me nervous. Right?
Just judging.
There's no Shayna. There's no. Shayna's. I think she's in
She's back in her retreat.
Sadhguru land.
Yeah, she's back in her retreat. She told us. Well, she told us she was going to be there again.
It's all right. It's all right. Krishna's got a plan. Krishna's got a plan. Someone can read the Sanskrit.
Shri Narada Uvacha Avatam Vitatayam Yasho Bhagavato Malam Yenai Vaso Natushrita Manyita Darshanam Kilam.
Yes. Sri Narada said, you have not actually, here it is. Sri Narada said, you have not actually broadcast the sublime and spotless glories of the personality of Godhead. That philosophy which does not satisfy the transcendental sense of the Lord is considered worthless. Wow. The eternal relation of an individual soul with the Supreme Personality of Godhead is constitutionally one of being the eternal servant of the eternal Master. The Lord has expanded himself as living beings in order to accept loving service from them, and this alone can satisfy both the Lord and the living beings. Such a scholar as Vyasadeva has completed many expansions of Vedic literatures, ending with the Vedanta philosophy, but none of them have been written directly glorifying the personality of Godhead. Dry philosophical speculations, even on the transcendent subject of the Absolute, have very little attraction without directly dealing with the glorification of the Lord. Personality of Godhead is the last word in transcendental realization. The absolute, realized as impersonal Brahman or localized supersoul, is less productive of transcendental bliss in the supreme personal realization of his glories. The compiler of Vedanta Darshan is Vyasadeva himself, yet he is troubled, although he is the author. So what sort of transcendental bliss can be derived by the readers and listeners of Vedanta, which is not explained directly by Vyasadeva, the author? Herein arises the necessity of explaining Vedanta Sutra in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam by the selfsame author. A little water, a cup of water, I'm thirsty. You know, we're in the sauna day. So that's a pretty important point, right? That why is he sad? Why is he sad? Why is he despondent?
Explain the glories of God, sons of Krishna.
We talked about
He didn't
all
broadcast the glories of Krishna. So if you want to be happy, what do?
God has the glories of Krishna.
People wonder why the devotees are always happy. The devotees who are preaching are the most happy. Right? Because it's not special. No one's special. It's just because someone's dedicated to preaching, then you're going to be happy. You guys saw Vaisheshika, didn't you? Effulgent like the sun. He reminds me of the Rajasuya sacrifice, right? When all the great saints and sages are there and they elect Krishna as the head. That's how I feel whenever I'm in a room with all these swamis and everything, but Vaisheshika is always like the most effulgent, powerful, amazing devotee. Like, they're like, wow, all these swamis, but that devotee is just,
Yes.
I can't even look at him. He's just too effulgent and powerful.
Should have seen him dancing.
I know, I saw the video. I danced with him before. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
You know, it's also a really fun fact.
Fun fact. It's sponsored by Govinda
He's
Madhava.
on stage with all of his children.
Yeah.
None of the superstar kirtaniyas are ever on stage with him. His entourage is simply at his feet.
Yeah, he's amazing. That's why I carry on me at all times, in all places, and in all circumstances, my bracelet, which was given to me from his divine hand. Whenever I'm having a hard time, I assume it can be done. And if Vaisheshika exists, folks, Vaisheshika Prabhu is real.
Real.
You should have seen him and Gurudev engaging.
God, please.
That was pretty cool.
Unless now he wants to do biscuits and hummus. No, those were terrible. Okay. So, you leaving, Jamuna?
We'll move on to scones.
Oh, okay. Shall we move on?
Yeah.
A little glorification of the Vaishnavas in there to help us. So that was 8. Now we're at 9. Philosophy that doesn't glorify the Lord or satisfy the Lord's senses is worthless, right? So if you're doing something that's not satisfying Krishna, it's worthless. The mind of the writer of Vedanta Sutra is dissatisfied. How will those who continually study it be satisfied, right? So we hear about that, like we have our good friend Josh Prabhu. He's always into Vedanta Sutra. But Vyasadeva himself, who wrote the Vedanta Sutra, is feeling dissatisfied. So how can you possibly feel satisfied by reading Vedanta Sutra? Does that make sense? Omar, does that make sense?
It's like the wrong interpretation.
No.
No, you're saying what makes sense. Okay. so that's-
No interpretation necessary.
because
If you're not, even Vedanta
something
Sutra is not sufficient enough to satisfy one. Because it has nothing to do with Krishna's pastimes. Ayorharati vaipum sam udyamastam jnana sautasya yapjinonita uttama shloka vartaya. You don't describe the pastimes of the Lord, then the sun's destroying your lifespan. You're not going to experience the love. Vyasadeva might say, but I have described the Lord's qualities in the Padma Purana and others. And then so what does Srinarada say? He says, are we on 10 or 9?
9.
9, okay, yeah. He says, although a great sage, you have broadly described the 4 principles, beginning with religious performances, you have not described the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva. The prompt diagnosis of Srinarada is at once declared. The root cause of despondency of Vyasadeva was his deliberate avoidance of glorifying the Lord in his various editions of Puranas. He hasn't glorified Krishna. 10. Oh man, here we are. This is a verse. This is a memorization verse, folks. Nayad vachas chitram paramhara yasho jagat pravitam praganita karichit tadvaya samtirdam ushanti manasa nayatra hamsa niraman yushikshaya. I'm going to read the verse.
Those words which do not describe the glories of the Lord, who alone can sanctify the atmosphere of the whole universe, are considered by saintly persons to be like unto a place of pilgrimage for crows. Since they all perfect persons are inhabitants of the transcendental abode, they do not derive any pleasure there.
Yeah. Tadvaya samtirdam, folks. Tadvaya samtirdam. Sorry to tell you, folks, Game of Thrones is a place of pilgrimage for the crows. There was a multi-layered joke in that, if anybody's willing to say it.
I know. Unfortunately.
It was very, anyways. Yeah, so the whole world, which doesn't describe the glories of the Lord, that vice some tear them, right? And he's not talking about 50 Shades of Gray here. He's talking about the Vedas. He's talking about Vedic literatures. So what to speak of your mundane books and novels. He's speaking about the Mahabharata. He's speaking about all these books which are not describing Krishna's pastimes. And you can't be satisfied if you don't read Krishna's pastimes. And so, what's it? It says, Nayatra Hamsa Nirmat Yushikshaya. The Hamsas, the swan-like people, they don't delight pleasure there. Right? These swan-like devotees, right? The Narada Munis, the Srila Prabhupads, they have no interest in these mundane literatures. They're not interested. They want to hear Bhagavatam. Because if you hear Bhagavatam, like today, I was at the gym, but during my workout, while I'm not working out, I'm just memorizing shlokas and chanting Bhagavatam verses. And it's you just get an ecstatic experience just from chanting Bhagavatam verses. Wow. You get just ecstatic just from hearing just that sound vibration chanting it. So it is the real way. We start doing this and we just decide to dedicate ourselves and we do. You can continue on talking to Bhagavatam for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours with no challenge. It's amazing. Are there any questions? Anybody?
And Krishna, he also talks about the flowery words of the Vedas.
Right? Krishna says he's
I felt satisfied reading the Vedas. It made me pretty happy reading it. I can feel happy watching a movie or a mundane book, and I read something that's even better, which is the Vedas. So by comparison, I feel my happiness is it makes sense that I can feel happy with something like that.
Pro-like.
I'm a crow.
Okay. All right. Omar speaking his experiences.
I'm obviously not on their level, so you know what
I mean, we can't feel ultimate satisfaction.
Right.
Well, the Vedas are for mainly material gain, right?
I don't know anybody who's read the actual Vedas themselves.
Well, they read chunks of it, especially if it's kind of, I don't know.
That kind of
the
people.
Upanishads describe Brahman. I feel that's mind-blowing type content. So still transcendental knowledge is still super interesting. But probably not the best.
Yeah. Yeah, the Upanishads are not really speaking about Brahman. They're speaking about Krishna. Right? Vedanta, they're speaking about Isha, what is it? Upanishad. That word Isha is there. Upanishad. That which brings you closer to the Isha. They bring you closer to God. Right? So actually, Upanishads are all about the personality of Godhead. Prabhupada quotes all the Upanishads so many times in his books. But people who don't know anything, because the wording, right? They think that's about Brahman. But who is Brahman? Who is the Par Brahman? Krishna is the source of Brahman. Right? So, yeah. But if we stay at that level, right? If we stay at the level of just hearing about Brahman, what satisfaction will we gain?
How much?
Yes.
I'm sure Shana would give you quite a few on this topic.
What was the question?
If you just stay, even if you can't even really realize, you can't realize on without bhakti anyways. That's a well-known fact. What do the Mayavadis chant? Hare Krishna. They chant Hare Krishna. Even the Mayavadis chant Hare Krishna. Because you can't actually even realize without Krishna. Otherwise, you're an actual Mayavadi. You're not even an impersonalist. You're a real Mayavadi. You see Krishna as Maya. And therefore, how do you control your senses? Without tasting some Krishna nectar, how are you going to control your senses? Who are you going to, how are they going to have devotional relationship? I've been to Mayavadi ashrams. I've seen not just the mundane, you can see the mundane guy, I read Vedanta and smoke weed type of guy. Or you can see I've met swamis, fully dedicated sannyasis in the Mayavadi school, right? They don't impress. And I'm saying that with genuineness. Like their character, they really want to be like a Gurudev or like a Vaisheshika Prabhu. They really want to be like that. But they just don't know how. They really don't know how. Because it's a character. And devotees can get like that too. They put up a character like, I gotta be Mr. Joseph. And okay. But when the Joe Sadhu character breaks down, now you just look like you're constipated because you can't act. You have no idea how to be yourself. Whereas a devotee, he can be natural, he can be relaxed. We have relationships with each other, with Krishna. So it's important we cultivate our faith properly, because faith is something that we think we have, but then we realize we don't. So we have to continuously cultivate proper faith. Otherwise, we're going to fall. We're going to mess up. We're not going to make the path. So faith is something you cultivate properly. And you have to cultivate proper faith. And there's crisis on the path. There's faith crisis. So you have to be able to overcome that crisis. And that takes humility. That takes sincerity. That takes, learning, hearing, approaching the devotees. Otherwise, you can become poisoned by nonsense philosophy. And then, all is lost, actually. We're hearing from the very same author of the Upanishads, the very same author of all of these books, right? He's saying if it's not related with Krishna, if it's not related to the personality of Godhead, to bhakti, advayasam tirtam. And it's not that Krishna doesn't say this. Krishna says bhakti mama vijananti. The Mayavadis, they love to accept Bhagavad Gita, they love to quote Bhagavad Gita, but they hate when you quote Bhagavad Gita. That's their issue. They want to seem, I've seen, Bhagavad Gita, how do you explain? Man, mana, baba mad, bhakto, mad yaji, mam, namaskuru. Mam, evashati, satyam te. Okay, so Krishna is saying me so many times in that verse. Hello. Welcome in. Welcome. Hare Krishna. Krishna's saying me so many times in that verse, right? Aham sarvasyam prabhavo mata sarvapavartate. Krishna's saying me so many times. Mamcha yo vyabhicharena. Krishna's saying me, but they don't say me. No. We're not interpreting. So what are they saying? We're going to interpret Bhagavad Gita. We're going to interpret Bhagavad Gita. If I say, hey, Gauranga, can you get me another glass of water? I'm going to interpret that statement as actually, he's saying, I should get myself another glass of water. And actually, I'm Kirtaneshwar Gauranga Das. Even though Kirtaneshwar Gauranga said, hey, get me another glass of water. Actually, what he meant was, I should get the Kirtaneshwar within me a glass of water and drink that glass of water myself. And so, in that sense, I'm pretending I'm God, right? And that's their excuse. And so, they hold on desperately to their nonsense philosophy. All right, let's move on. Unless there's any other points here. This is Bhakti Vaibhav verse here. Tadvaj vishargo janataga viplavo yasmin pratishloka mabhadavya yapi namanyantasyasya sankintani achin vigayanti rinati sarava. I'm going to read the purport. Read the translation.
On the other hand, that literature which is On the other hand, that literature which is full of descriptions of the transcendental glories of the name, fame, forms, pastimes, etc., of the unlimited Supreme Lord is a different creation, full of transcendental words directed toward bringing about a revolution in the pious lives of the world's misdirected civilization. Such transcendental literatures, even though imperfectly composed, are heard, sung, and accepted by purified men who are thoroughly honest.
That's a heck of a verse. Prabhupada used that verse in his introduction to the Bhagavatam. So, what we're hearing here is we should understand this. Tadvaj Vishargo, that vocabulary, Vishargo, is a different creation. Because it is sufficient to change the lives of this misdirected civilization, right? Bringing about a revolution in consciousness, a consciousness revolution. You're going to change the consciousness. And so even though imperfectly composed, such words, such literatures are heard, accepted, and sung by sadhavas, purified men who are thoroughly honest. So, who do you want to be like? Who do you want to be like, right? You want to be like, Joe Schmo philosopher? And we have all our philosophers, they were in so much Maya. Right? Or do you want to be like, Srila Prabhupada, Narada Muni, Vyasadeva, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Gaurkishore Das, Babaji Narottam Das Thakur, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Who do you want to be like? That's up to your choice. So therefore, this is the literature of the swans, swan-like people. Is there something in the purport you're reading, Omar, you want to share with the rest of the class?
No, it's okay.
You want to share the nectar? Did you bring enough nectar for all of us? Big purport. Yes. On your own, folks, on your own. You're all going to read Bhagavatam on your own, I hope. Almost finished the 8th canto again today. Very nice. Any comments or questions? Let's keep on rolling. I want to try to get to verse 17 today, if possible. Naishkarmyam apyachut, Naishkarmyam apyut, abhava varjitam, Nashobate jnanamalam niranjanam, Kuta punashashvara bardam ishvare, nacharpitam karma yadapya karanam. Knowledge of self-realization, even though free from all material affinity. Oh, this is an important verse too. It's a good verse to memorize. Does not look well if devoid of a conception of the infallible God. Narada Muni speaking. What then is the use of fruitive activities which are naturally painful from the very beginning and transient by nature, if they are not utilized for the devotional service of the Lord? Part the purport. As referred to above, not only are ordinary literatures devoid of transcendental glorification of the Lord are condemned, but also Vedic literatures and speculation on the subject of impersonal Brahman when they are devoid of devotional service. When speculation on the impersonal Brahman is condemned on the above ground, then what to speak of ordinary fruitive work, which is not meant to fulfill the aim of devotional service? Such speculative knowledge and lead one to the goal of perfection. Fruitive work, which almost all people in general are engaged, is always painful either in the beginning or at the end. It can be fruitful only when made subservient to devotional service of the Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita, also it is confirmed that the result of such fruitive work may be offered for the service of the Lord. Otherwise, it leads to material bondage. What's the verse? Yagyartar Karmayon Yatra Layam Karma Bandha Tarartam Karma Konteya Mukta Sanga Samachara. The bona fide enjoyer of fruitive work is the personality of Godhead, and thus, when it is engaged for the sense gratification of the living beings, it becomes an acute source of trouble. That the verse I quoted, that verse is 3:11. Or 3:11, 3:10, 3:8, 3:9. I think it's 3:9 actually. Third chapter in that area. Okay, so that knowledge which is devoid of knowledge of Krishna, of even self-realization without God, is a source of trouble. Why? Because Dharma projito kaitavo paramo nirmatsaranam satam vedyam vastavam atra vastu shivanam tapa trayon mulanam. Shivanam tapa trayon mulanam. The absolute truth is vedyam vas, it's reality distinguished from illusion, which it's shivadam, it's all auspicious, tapa trayon mulanam, and it uproots the threefold miseries because it is dharma projito kaitavo. It's rejecting those cheating processes of religion based on kama, artha, dharma, and moksha. Those processes are considered cheating processes. Why? Why are they considered cheating processes? Yeah, no bhakti, but why is no bhakti considered cheating? Because it's selfish. Because it's ultimately selfish. Where's the sacrifice? Anybody in here? Sureshwar gave a beautiful Bhagavata Sanga class this morning. Really, it was beautiful. Did you actually cry in the class?
Hero?
I did.
Oh.
Sureshwar was crying. I was crying. Kavita cried. It was a lot of tears. It was a tearful class. It was really
Hero
good.
cried.
Oh my god.
No, Dior didn't cry. Anyhow. That would take Krishna himself.
Oh my god.
Vyasadeva. Narada Muni's got to appear and give a Bhagavata Sanga class. Maybe. But no, it's Shivanam Tapa Trimalam, because all of your miseries are from your desires. Even for liberation, your desire for spiritual knowledge, even that is a material desire. Right? You've not surrendered fully to the service of the Lord. And so that selfishness there, right? That we need the infallible God. We need to love the infallible God. We need love. Do you not need love? We need love. Don't you want somebody? Don't you need somebody to love? Wouldn't you love somebody to love? Right? You have to find Krishna. Came to San Francisco for the month. Jefferson Airplane. Therefore, that knowledge which is based in even moksha is selfish. Because where's the service? Where's the service? Where's the selflessness? Sensible? It's a fact. I mean, it's a psychological fact. You take all religion and spirituality off the table. It's a psychological fact that to the degree you think about yourself, you're miserable. To the degree you think about helping others and serving the Supreme Mother, or God especially, but serving others. Notice that depressed people, all they do is talk about themselves. It's a fact. I'm struggling with this, and I'm struggling with. We ought to be compassionate. We really should, but it's a fact that's the struggle. That's the self-obsession. Not that we don't honor our own feelings. I'm not saying that. You have to honor your own feelings, and you have to, you have to reveal your heart and mind to people. But there's a difference between being absorbed in the self, the false self, false ego. But yeah, that's a very important, powerful verse. All righty. And so Prabhupada's saying in the purport here that fruitive activities and jnana are condemned. And so pure devotional service is anyabhilashita shunyam jnanam karmani navitam anukulena krishna now shivanam bhaktir uttama. And it is condemned because pure devotional service is devoid of jnana and karma and material desire. And it's done in a favorable mood to Krishna. And so what's the result of pure devotional service? What are the first two results? That's yes, knowledge is one answer, right? But according to, that's one answer. That's a good answer too. From the Bhagavata Sanga. One of the answers is given in the Bhakti Rasa. Read the translation, Govinda.
One who has forsaken his material occupations to engage in the devotional service of the Lord may sometimes fall down while in an immature stage, yet there is no danger of his being unsuccessful. On the other hand, a non-devotee, though fully engaged in occupational duties, does not gain anything.
Mm. So what we're hearing right here is that yeah, even if you fall down,
There's a Bhagavad Gita verse that.
Yeah. But there's another point that's made in this verse that even if you may fall down, twaktva swadharmam. So twaktva means to like renounce. Twaktva. You just did that. You just twaktva. You just twaktva Mohini. Wow.
Is it Twaktwa or
No,
Tyaktwa?
come back.
Is it?
It's Tyaktwa.
I see. Well, I'm just doing it. I did it by memory. So. Swadharma.
Like our engagements.
Right. So we tyaktva swadharma. You're abandoning your swadharma. You're a kshatriya. You're a brahmin. You're a householder. You're whatever. Charanam bhujam harir. Right? Charanam, the feet of Hari. So if you let go of those engagements to engage in the feet of Hari. Bhajan apakvo tapatet, you may fall down. Tapatet in an immature state. Tapatet yato. Bhajan apakvo tapatet tato yari. But there's no loss. There's no loss whatsoever. Because you didn't lose anything by becoming a devotee. But if you do everything expertly and never become a devotee, then there was no gain in this lifetime. So the point is this verse, this is a point we should remember. That it's nice that we can understand it theoretically, but let's apply it. Sometimes, especially devotees who are getting various, they feel in their heart, I love it in the beginning, I loved it, and I'm into it, but now all of a sudden I'm deep in it, and I'm confused about my life. Like, I took a big detour to do this, right? I became a brahmachari. I did, I gave up so much. My whole life changed. I pretty much don't have any of the same friends I used to have. There's so many different things people come up with, right? And like, all my material desires are so like atomified, like they're gone. They're like atomic bomb has blown away, and I don't know what I want anymore. And like, it's a real thing that happens to devotees, it's a real thing that happens to devotees. And that's the immaturity, right? That they go through. That I loved it. I was feeling good. And now I'm scared. Like, what's my future going to be like? What am I going to do? I was a full ride college graduate student, going somewhere in the world. And now I'm just like I have no material knowledge. I'm just like a brahmachari. And what do I do? And so this is a real thing that devotees go through. And, I had given so much energy to Krishna, and I haven't thought about like my real life in a long time. And so, devotees in an immature stage may run away from devotional service. They may do all kinds of crazy stuff in that crisis, up to the point of not being a devotee, and down to the point of, just, irrational changes of ashram and situation, feeling a little bit messed up. It's a real thing. And so there's no loss. We should understand that, like, on the ultimate platform, I didn't lose anything. I gave, I gave time to Krishna. Okay, if I can't give an entire life to Krishna, at least I gave, 5 years to Krishna. At least I gave a few months to Krishna. At least I gave a few minutes to Krishna. I gave up something to do something for Krishna. And therefore, there was no loss. But if you do everything perfectly, and you get all the millions, and you get all the beautiful people in your life, and you have all that, then there's no gain if you don't have Krishna. You don't have the Krishna bhakti. And so we should understand that there is no loss. There's no loss in doing what we're doing. We have to let go of that old reality and really embrace the Bhagavatam reality that let me not fear because I gave something to Krishna. Krishna will take care of me. Bhajana patvo tapate tato yadi. Yatrakava badram abudabushikim kavarta apto vajatam sudamata. Even if you do it perfectly, there's no gain. But giving time to Krishna, there was no loss. So let the conflicts of faith and the conflicts of, an immaturity that we're not stable yet. We thought we were more advanced than we are. I have it. I'm good at devotion. I'm good, man. I got first initiation. I'm good. And later on, it's like, wait a minute, I don't know if what was I even doing here, That's a really unfortunate circumstance that a lot of people go through. But even if they go into Maya for a lifetime, there's no loss. In the next life, they're going to become devotees. It's a fact. Because we're looking for Krishna. So this verse is an encouragement that, like, none of this actually matters. This material activities doesn't matter. What really matters is, what did you do for Krishna? And what did you do to help others come to Krishna? Like, if you were able to help someone, one person, become a devotee of Krishna, think about the life you gave them, you helped them achieve. Right? The life you helped them achieve by helping them come to Krishna is that, like, wow, like, think about since how many wonderful things have you experienced since you've been a devotee? Right? Jamuna, how many wonderful things have you experienced since you've been a devotee?
Yes.
So if we become a devotee, wonderful things happen to us. And you help someone have a wonderful life free of all this material suffering. So therefore, when you let that be your mission in life, like, when the ultimate results of your activities were so good, that you were a source of devotional encouragement. We're not perfect. We're not, we're immature, but there was no loss because we did service. Like, book distributors appear sometimes and they're fired up and they distribute, more books than anybody, then they disappear and no one ever sees them again. So think about, the person that got the book that became a devotee forever, So there's no loss. It's the highest good. And so just a little bit goes so far. What to speak of giving a whole life? Krishna. Alrighty, we'll stop there. Any questions, comments, reflections? Reflections?
Yeah, every time that Yasuki would come to this temple and give lecture, he would always say,
Thank you,
"You've
Janine.
given so many lives. Why,
He always says that.
he says that, why not give this one life to Krishna? One life."
Why not give this one life to Krishna?
Uh,
No, I feel that. Like, why don't, sometimes I think to myself, God, I want the sense gratification, but Krishna, I've had it. I've had it so many times. Just let me give this life to you. Just let me do what you want me to do. I'll do whatever. I'll do anything, but don't let me leave 1 second out of your shelter. Don't let me leave 1 second out of your shelter. Like, just please direct me. Please give me service. And, live your life as a sacrifice. Live your life as a sacrifice for the Lord. It's the way of the Christ. Dr. Omar, you have something to say?
No, I was scratching my elbows.
Okay. You have some prasadam there for us?
Yeah. I got
I'm smelling. They're very good.
I wanna.
You were trying to